Hello there, it's Tania Gabrielle, Wealth Astro-Numerologist, and welcome to Star Codes. This is the podcast where we look at an important Astro-Numerology event coming up so that we are equipped with the message and can really tap into self-growth and expansion. And in this case, there's a lot of expansion because we're going to talk about Jupiter and in particular Mercury. Mercury Retrograde, the second one of the year, begins on May 10th. And on the same day, a major Jupiter event takes place. After 12 years going around the 12 signs of the zodiac, Jupiter is re-entering Aries, the first sign. So there's a new beginnings feeling right as Mercury stations retrograde in its own sign of Gemini. So this is a very momentous period, and it also falls during the eclipse cycle. So between the solar eclipse in Taurus and the total lunar eclipse in Scorpio on May 15th, 16th. So the opportunities to move through old hang-ups and paradigms and letting them go is truly remarkable, because the rebirth aspect of both Jupiter's new 12-year cycle beginning in between the eclipse cycle on the day Mercury stations retrograde in its own sign, and the upcoming Scorpio total lunar eclipse, where Scorpio is about power and empowering yourself through letting go, through cleansing, is really remarkable. Jupiter really comes to the rescue here because Jupiter is very excited to be in Aries. It likes Aries. Jupiter is a fire planet, being the ruler of Sagittarius, a fire sign. Aries is a fire sign, so Jupiter feels very happy in Aries. And this is coming on the heels of Jupiter being in Pisces and having that conjunction with Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, in April. So there's a real shift in energy here where the dreaminess, almost like living a little bit in an imaginary world, now moves into action, moves into, okay, well, what are we going to do about the world that we envisioned when Jupiter was in Pisces and conjuncted Neptune? What are we going to do now? And so all of this is coming together in such a beautiful way. Let's look at the date first for the Mercury retrograde and the Jupiter moving into Aries, because it's very powerful. It's on the 10th of May. 10 is the instant manifestation number. 10 allows us to move into new opportunity with rapid implementation. And as it happens, the Mercury retrograde starts at 4 degrees Gemini. Gemini, of course, is the sign Mercury rules, one of two signs, Virgo being the other. But 4 is also a number of manifestation. 4 is about security. It's like a box. It creates boundaries. It's disciplined. And it wants you to make your ideas real. So 4 and 10 are both qualities of manifestation, actualization, bringing things into reality. And so you want to, because of the Mercury retrograde in its own sign, take a step back and give your mind a break. Like, stop the running mind, the info overload and overwhelm, and just really tune in to what the message is here for your big restart. And this will last a couple weeks because it starts now and it continues through the eclipse on the 15th and 16th of May, depending on where you live. And so an eclipses, of course, have a long-term impact, but the intensity of the shift is really this month. And so there's so much here for you to tune into in terms of inner communication, which Mercury rules, inner inspiration and wisdom, with which Jupiter rules, confidence, which is Jupiter in Aries, and the ability to communicate your message in a way that is very patient. So you are okay with the natural flow. And this is where Scorpio comes in. The Scorpio eclipse is a water sign, and it reminds you to trust in the universe, to always be patient when things are moving a little slower in your life than what it is you would prefer, or to be very open to the flow when it moves faster, when it comes out of the blue. Remember, Uranus is in Taurus. This eclipse coming up has the sun in Taurus, the moon in Scorpio. So this Uranian activation of the two signs that are governing the eclipse cycle, Taurus and Scorpio, means there can be surprises. So let's go back to the Mercury retrograde in its own sign. Everything regarding information, social media, anything online, blogging, sending newsletters, anything to do with connection through media is really activated. And so you're going to be more careful about your words. You're going to really pay attention during this first part of the retrograde about how you use words, how you think, and how you then translate what you're thinking into language. And this is a good thing because words are extremely powerful and they can really make or break a conversation, a moment with a person, because they leave a deep impact that is unconscious. So this retrograde is incredibly important for us to remember that when we speak and share something, it should always be for the highest good of the person we are sharing it with. And of course, that means for our own highest good, because what we do to others impacts us. The second thing is that when Mercury moves into Taurus on May 22nd, it retrogrades into Taurus and then stations direct on June 3rd in Taurus and moves back into Gemini. Once it's in Taurus, everything that we have decided we need to really pay attention to in terms of our language and communication will integrate and manifest and get grounded in the sign of Taurus, which is an earth sign. It will also then merge with the Uranian energy because Uranus is in Taurus and Uranus is inspiration. So there's a lot here that's coming together at once because the Uranus and Taurus aspect is very important. The Jupiter moving into Aries aspect is very important because it's the first degree of the zodiac. 0 degrees Aries begins the whole journey into our zodiac, the first sign, 0 degrees. And that initiates fortunate new beginnings, a fresh start, this whole sweeping energy of a rebirth, a brand new life. And you feel the confidence because Jupiter expands every sign that it's in. And in Aries, it is expanding and enhancing confidence and courage and forward momentum and going for it, drive, ambition. And then Mercury retrograde, starting at 4 degrees Gemini, shows us the importance of having boundaries to protect us against the noise, the info overload. And so we want to really remember that in order to focus on a frequency that uplifts us and moves us forward, we need to detach from the noise, everybody else's life and opinion and idea of this and that. It doesn't matter when it comes to our own life. What we have to learn during this Mercury retrograde is really to go into a place where what we focus on takes center stage internally. Retrogrades are always about internal, and this is Mercury. This is how we think, how we verbalize and communicate what it is we are doing, what we're focusing on in every conversation we have, including our own with ourselves. So this is an excellent period with Jupiter in Aries as well, Jupiter governing higher education, to learn, to teach, to be willing to open up, to write. There's a lot of positive outlets now to share what it is you feel and share the knowledge you have, the wisdom you have, and pursue creative writing if that's what you want to do, right? It's very creative. It comes down to giving yourself the breathing room during the retrograde to actually take in all these shifts that are going on with Jupiter and the Scorpio eclipse. I mean, this is very, very big energy. It is literally pulling us and pushing us and inviting us to experience a new world. And the way to experience that world is to take a time out, in a sense, from that thought stream that just goes and goes and goes. And not tune into other people's opinions and external expectations, but rather go into the wisdom of the heart, that Jupiter wisdom, that newfound, I am reborn, I have a new life, everything is there. I was born with all I need, all the gifts and wisdom that are necessary to trust in the universal flow. They're all there. I have the capability of tuning in. And so if you feel a little bit discombobulated and disoriented and unable to deal with things, it's important to just find that middle ground and stay with the frequency that it is you want to implement. So speaking of frequencies, there are 3 frequencies that you might want to tune into. The first is to change and reframe a thought that is more heavy into a lightness, a positivity, by expressing gratitude. That's really the first thing that comes to mind in terms of shifting that heavy thought. Be grateful, focus on what you love and what makes you happy, so that there's this flow of connection. When you're grateful to the exchange of energy. You're saying thank you. So you can appreciate a gorgeous day, or something that you've just discovered, or something that you just heard, and you thank the person and basically share, I love how you said that, or I love that you shared that. Basically, it's just moving into the very simple appreciation. So the positivity, the lightness of thought. And then there's humorous thought. So the second frequency is humor. So when you empty your mind of things that are not happening the way you want, or on your mind because they have to get done. So if you are overwhelmed, in other words, you can make a funny observation. You can go to the lighter side of life and just laugh at the ridiculousness of getting caught up in the tense, heavy energy. Basically, when you point out to yourself or others things that are funny, then you're expressing something with great spirit. And that's what humor is. It really allows us to come back to the basics of, well, in the end, it really just is our perception. So if our perception can have humor in it, the better we are in terms of our ability to handle anything. So positive, lightness, humor, and then the third is purposeful. To have a purpose, to really allow yourself to appreciate what you're here to do. So to examine something to see if it's true, to study something that gives you a purpose, to explore a new creative idea, to wonder why something is the way it is, to find a solution to a practical problem. And so this is giving you a purpose because you are thinking about life in terms of a solution and a journey and an expansion instead of a limitation and a lack. So we want to move away from that sense of separation where we limit ourselves and we feel a sense of lack. We want to move into the lightness, the humor, the purpose of just the incredible experience that we're having, and to appreciate it and be grateful every day. So if for any reason you are thinking about things and it's like a memory, or it's something that just makes you feel heavy, just know that what's behind that energy is fear. It's just being afraid, and it's hijacked your ability to perceive the world in a joyful way. When the mind is being used in a functional way, in an intelligent and wise way, the divine self comes in and literally inspires you. So you've done this many times. The divine self has come through you and has helped you literally integrate and live your life with joy many times. The divine self is never separate from you. So it's basically living life through you, and you are a channel for that joy. So when you're aligned with that joy, with that expansion, with that ability to reframe things and perceive life through Mercury and Jupiter and the Scorpio eclipse, through a sense of letting go and following your heart, you are tuning into the planetary movements of the stars in a way that allows them to uplift you. You are literally remembering that you're a star being, that you are a light being. And so then this eclipse, this Mercury retrograde, Jupiter moving into Aries, becomes your guiding light. You literally are inspired and open to receive the gifts of these incredible celestial events. So have a wonderful Mercury retrograde, a wonderful May 10th celebration of Jupiter moving into Aries, and the 3 weeks of the retrograde integrating everything through June 3rd, and of course Scorpio total lunar eclipse on May 15th, 16th. It's all coming together in a big way this month, and I know you are ready for this. You are literally excited about this. Even if it feels a little jarring at times, there's an excitement, there's an understanding, there's an appreciation that everything is transforming so beautifully. And you're playing your part by accepting it, by embracing it, by seeking it, and by being grateful for it. And just like the celestial celebrations continue day after day, you were born at a very momentous time. And the moment of your birth describes your star code map. It's based on your birthday, your birth certificate name, and your astrology chart. And you can learn more about yours in a free masterclass at starcodeclass.com. You get a free handout. You get to understand your purpose and destiny, and you get to understand the people in your life, which is so helpful for non-judgment and acceptance. It's just a really fun free class. So enjoy that at starcodeclass.com. Have a beautiful week, and I will see you in our next Star Code podcast. Lots of love.